Hey y'all, I'm Brad of Brave the Woods. Today's episode we are going to be drawing a forest scene that looks like it came straight out of a mid-century little golden book. And to do that, I'm going to be using some of my favorite brushes from the Woodland Wonderland Procreate pack that I made with RetroSupply. If you're not familiar with RetroSupply, they've been my go-to place for digital brushes and textures for several years now. And we've actually done some collaborative brush packs together, and this is one of them. We actually made this one for Photoshop a few years back, and now it is finally available for Procreate. So I'm super excited to show off these brushes to you, and it's just gonna be a fun tutorial overall. I'm gonna be doing this on the iPad Pro in the Procreate app. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, for those of you following along, this is a 12:9 canvas, and I have it at 300 DPI. So I need to always start with a sketch, so I'm gonna go look through my brushes here. This is the Woodland Wonderland pack, and there is a ton of brushes. If you haven't seen this pack, it has a little of everything. It has some almost like crayons, it has some watercolors, gouaches, pencils, pens, everything. It's got a ton of stuff. So there's actually a handful of pencils, but I think I'm gonna go with this backwoods pencil. We're gonna start off by drawing this kind of tree with kind of a, I don't know, it's kind of a rounded off rectangle for the main body of the tree. Maybe that goes out a little further, I don't know. You'll kind of notice in the mid-century era, they used a lot of geometric shapes, and that kind of goes for kind of nature-related things too, which is kind of odd, but they made like, you know, they tried to find geometry in nature, which is easy to find if you think about it, but it's a lot less organic looking, which is kind of a cool graphic look when they made children's books. They also use really unique colors. Okay, so we're gonna do maybe a little branch up here, kind of swing that down under here, add a little offshoot branch. I'm not gonna get too wrapped up in this. You can kind of do whatever branches you'd like. I'm gonna kind of go like this maybe. And then I'm just gonna do like one big rectangle in the back. I'm thinking about just doing a, I don't know, like kind of like a meadow. This is gonna be some plants and things. I could do a lot of animals, but it's gonna take too much time, especially for this video. And maybe this is where you can just take your artistic liberties and do what you want to do. I mean, I'll probably add like a bird here and there, probably in the tree, which would be kind of cool. But that's probably enough. It's just kind of get where everything's supposed to be located on the page. I'm going to lower the opacity here, and we're going to build on top of this. Let's do the top of the tree here. Let's do that with lots of options. I kind of want to do it with, the rough builder. Yeah, this is a really cool looking one. Maybe I'll start with like a yellowish color in the background. That might be kind of cool. We'll kind of build up to it. There you go. That's kind of fun. So let's do that main shape. I really love this brush. You can see that texture. It only really happens, that really big texture on the edges, like right around there. It only shows up when I'm pressing hard. If I don't press hard, it's kind of faint, which is kind of a neat, you know, flexible brush. Now let's add maybe like a greenish. Maybe that's too green. Oh, there you go. I like that. Let's kind of do it over top there. I kind of like it so that you kind of see some of that yellow. Kind of layer it up. I don't know, this is just preference. You don't have to do any of this. But on the inside, I'm gonna add another layer and add a clipping mask, and you can do things like, let's do this. This shading right here, I can use a shading brush. It's up to you. If you wanna do some shading in there, it'd be kind of fun. And then maybe, I don't know, what are these other colors? A little bit lighter color up at the top here. Kind of mix that in. That'd be kind of fun. I mean, you can play around with that. Now let's move this sketch layer to the top again, because I want to see where my trunk is. It automatically, if you already have a clipping mask, it'll kind of make it as another clipping mask. So you have to tap on it and turn that off. That's how that works. And then I'll up the opacity. It'd be kind of cool to do a blue trunk. They used all sorts of really interesting colors in these old children's books. Okay, what kind of fill do I want to do? Let's do the trunk with like this rough fill. Now this brush is pretty sweet. If I blow it up a little bit, you can see it kind of trails off with a little bit of a drier end of a brush. I really like the look of this brush. You can do a lot of really cool things with that. Right now I'm actually just going to use it as a filler. And so it's got, if I press all the way down, you're not going to have much of a textured edge, but just a little bit, and I think that's kind of cool. There you go. And then once we get to this point, you can just drop it in. One little trick though is when you're dropping things in, if I'm holding on to this, I don't let go. Look at the very top. It gives you a color drop threshold. So if I drag it to the right, it's going to fill in all this little white space. I don't know if you can see it, but there's little white lines where it's not filling in. So I'm going to kind of pull it all the way to the edge there and maybe fill in the rest of that didn't work, that didn't fill in. Cut off some of the ends here like I was saying so that they're flat. Cool. I think that looks pretty good. All right, so we got our trunk. Let's add a little bit of texturing inside that trunk, which I'm going to turn this layer off for a second. I don't need it right now. Again, add another layer and just hit clipping mask. Let's try one of these other shaders right here. This grain spray. I'm going to do a dark shadow right here on this side. Maybe a little bit more gray. There we go. I like that. That's a little big. But you can see this one's got a really cool spray pattern to it. If I barely draw in here, it's just a nice little subtle thing. But if I press on it, it gets a really nice edge to it. I'm going to add one more on here, and I'm going to do another texture. Maybe something with a little bit of a greenish hue to it. Can you see that? It's kind of a cool little gray. I don't know. It just looks interesting. And if that looks interesting, then that's what I want. Now I think on top of this tree trunk, I'm going to add another layer, and this time I'm going to do some line work. So do some grains in the trunk. Now I want you to do whatever you'd like to do. I mean, this tutorial is just for you to kind of see how I use the brushes, but also how I navigate Procreate. Let's make this look like a warped old tree. We'll do that little guy. Yeah, I like how that looks. So you got the tree grain in the trunk. Maybe we can now add that background. If I want to do the background, I'm going to go back to kind of my form building thing. So I use that for the trunk. I use the rough fill. There we go. Now I'm put this layer behind everything. So I'm going to kind of just go over here, and we'll change this color. I don't think this color is right yet. Kind of drag. I make it a little bit off center because it adds to the whimsy of the era and the scene. I'm going to drag it, drop it, and it looks pretty full. All right, so I'm going to take this, again, alpha lock it. I'm going to change this color a bit. I want this a little bit lighter. You can just drag and drop at this point. Ooh, there we go. I like that look. And then I'm going to add a clipping mask. And here's another brush I want to introduce you to. There's so many of them, I can't use all of them right now. But I'm going to use this sponge to kind of be like the grass on here to give it just a cool texture. You'll see that. That's pretty cool. Actually, that might be a little bit too much there. It's a big... If I press real hard, it's a really big texture, which, you know what? I kind of like that. It's kind of like a scumbly look. That's pretty cool. I mean, now I think what I'll do is just, since I can't get exactly what I want, I'll probably lower the opacity a little bit. And then another kind of trick that I'll do on these types of things is in the background. I can go and add another clipping mask. And let's take like one of these washes. I don't know. Is that a good one? Or this water fill. There you go. And I'm going to add like a lighter color in the back here. There you go. We can just lighten up some of it. But it's not super harsh. Because if I take that off, you can see it's just barely adding a little bit of a wash. It's just kind of painting back there. So I kind of like that. Maybe I'll add more of a yellowy look in there to kind of just kind of break up the monotony of that color. You see how that just kind of breaks it up and makes it just a little bit more interesting? Just playing around with the values of the colors goes a long ways. Now this is just the filler. This is just the fun part. Now you can add whatever you want on here. I'm going to go back to my, kind of when I do most of my fill work, I'm using this rough fill. I really like that brush. I might add some like apples here. Maybe this is a pear tree for you or an orange tree. I mean, I know this is not how they look normally, so we're kind of taking some creative liberties for darn sure. But I'm going to draw some apples in here. And then maybe I'm going to fill in the tree a little bit with some lighter leaves. Just outlines, because I don't want them to be too busy. That's a little bright. Maybe I'll do just some outlines on here and you don't have to sit here and watch that, but I'm just gonna go in and kind of painstakingly put in all these little leaves, and you can do whatever you'd like at this time. Oh my goodness, my hands are tired. That was a lot of little leaves. This is where we kind of go wild with flora and fauna, I guess. We just put in some flowers and plants, and if you want to throw in, I might throw in like one little bird. And now we can just add a few more things here at the bottom to kind of fill it in.
Well, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. I'll make sure to keep doing videos like these. So thanks so much. I'll catch you guys next time.